All right. Good morning, everybody. Chris Courtney here, new Pragmatic. So glad to have you along on a Friday morning. Pretty light morning today for the feedback loop. We've some of our people are. It appears that as we get close to the weekend, more and more of the designers or students that I work with in the program getting off on those long weekends, or if you're happen to be over in Israel, it's a holiday weekend. So running a little lighter today, but that's okay because it gives us an opportunity to look at a couple of new things. One, Jeremy has a work project she's asked us to take a peek at. She's actually using Miro, and it's really interesting. If you have not used Miro, I really compare it to it's like Figma, but for more information architecture. There's a lot of tooling that's built into it that makes it really handy for getting your ideas together before you jump into the more illustrative prototyping that you might do in something like Figma. I also like the fact that it's multiplayer. Miro, it used to be called Real-Time Board, by the way, if you're not familiar with it. A lot of people are just discovering it. Although if you are in UX design, I would hope that you'd be familiar with it. But Miro used to be called Real-Time Board, and it has a plethora of tools to build out all sorts of different things. In this particular instance, Jeremy is using it for user flows to kind of decide what's going to happen in this as the user goes from sign up and onward. And we're going to take a peek at what she's doing, but we also use it. We use it for storyboarding. We use it for actually story mapping, where we'll break down user stories into epics and give it a backbone, and then we can look at in sprints, like what we're going to build and when we're going to build it. It's really handy from that perspective. Additionally, I just have to take a moment to look at and show you something that Eve did for her competitor research. It's some of the best competitor research that I've seen anybody do coming through any of the programs that I've been through. So I want to share that, and I want to start today actually by taking a look at something there. We'll hop right back into Miro here. You can see Miro is just a great platform, and Jeremy's work is right there. I want to take a second and look at this story it came across just a day or so ago, talking about how Instagram is being used by the New York Public Library for novels. And this is a really, really cool idea. I've actually, earlier in the year, I thought I was really super cool and smart. Earlier in the year, I was doing something. Hey, Berlin Marathon. Oh, look, they've got the new medal. I've got last year's medal. And anyway, the marathon is this weekend. But I thought it was super cool. I made these type cards. And if you go through and you read the type cards, you'll learn the basics of typography, and I kind of walk you through what that is like. And this is really meant to help you. I was trying to reach students who might be on their phone, away from a computer. It gave people a way to interact with the content that is out there, but you don't necessarily want to typically read about typography on a phone, because it's the scroll. But I thought Instagram offered a really interesting way to kind of make an interactive slideshow out of the whole thing. So I was doing these type cards, and if you hop in back to New Pragmatic, you'll see there's command line, and there's Gatsby, and there's UX Discovery. I was thinking that this was like, hey, it's kind of a smart idea, but the New Pragmatic Instagram channel, it's kind of underbaked right now. We do a lot of IGTV over there, so you can kind of see there's a lot of there's a lot of episodes there that you can watch. But I thought, I don't have any analytics on this. I'm not really sure how many people are really truly leveraging these checklists. And then this story comes out and says that 300,000 people are reading full-on novels like Alice in Wonderland and The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. These classic novels are on Instagram. And if you look at, let's just go ahead and scroll down. If you look at some of the things that they're doing, they are working in. I'd like to zoom in, please. They're working in animations and whatnot into the chapters. They've got these little pop-ups that are showing up, and I have not attempted to read a novel on Instagram. This is something that is really just kind of popped up on the radar, but it seems like such a cool, different way to go about the same thing that we do with a Kindle. It's you read a Kindle book is the same thing. It's just you tap and it moves over. I'm curious how people go about like highlighting text, because that's one of the things that I love to do on any of my EPUB apps. Is I like the fact that I can highlight things and then I have it in my pocket. So I'm not sure if you can do that, because it would appear that it's an image, but the animation side of it is so cool because that's one of the things that I've really personally found limiting when it comes time to create an EPUB, is everything's very static. The styling of an EPUB, if you've never produced a Kindle book or anything like that, it has to remain fairly plain, because it has to be readable on a Kindle and on an app and on anything that's going to load that file. Instagram is a little different. It just has to work on Instagram, and really anything that I could do in an Instagram story with GIFs and whatnot is something that I could possibly do with a book, which is so cool to think about. It's definitely something that I'm going to weave in as a information architecture project for the visual design course. As I see now, people are beginning to pick up steam and use Instagram differently. I really think it's a cool idea. So I just wanted to take a second to tip you off to that. That's a Fast Company story, and the Compass portion of their actually, I guess Compass is the daily email, but this is on Fast Company. If you want to find it, actually link to it in today's the weekly Pragmatic email that goes out every Thursday night, Friday morning. So this is one of the 5 stories that I was covering this week. The other one that you've probably already heard about is the Design Census by AIGA. I fight myself on this thing, because the Design Census is really skewed toward illustrators and not so much designers. These are closer to artists, and if we look at the PDF or the raw data, you can kind of see who's participating here, and what I'm really looking at is how do designers work. Like 7% of them are in advertising, arts and entertainment. 7%. The one area that we really focus on is this digital products and services, where they've lumped web design and app design and software design, and then that's about it. So when you look at the rest of this, is marketing, social media, arts and entertainment, I don't really consider that to be representative of the audience that I cater to. I cater to people who want to make digital products, and digital products is like 8% of the survey. That's still 4,000 people that they talk to. So, I mean, that was a significant chunk. But when you stack up the rest of the survey against it, it's not all that much. So I saw it as lumping UX and UI design in with a bunch of other stuff, which when you start looking at it, and you start getting into the satisfaction and by job challenges and what they really want to do, I just think it's skewed to more of the true creatives and less toward product design. So that's why I've put it in the update with like here's this thing, but you're really looking at what a lot of other 92% of the world that considers themselves to be part of design, they're not making products. Okay, they're doing other things. So, but that's the design census. I'm not going to focus on it too much here, but just know that that's one of the 5 things that you could have gotten in your weekly email from New Pragmatic. I think the Instagram things is way more interesting. But let's talk about Jeremy's project here. This Miro onboarding and sign-in flow. If we zoom out, you can see that Miro is a lot like Figma. You've got this big canvas to work with, and one of the great things about Miro is that if we want it to come over here and build user personas, or if we wanted to use it for affinity mapping, which we definitely do in the program, you've got this entire canvas to kind of move around and work with. Right now, Jeremy is just really getting started on building out her user flow. So what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of walk through this and mentally visualize where the breakpoints might be. This is just us following her up, giving her another set of eyes. So obviously we start here with the welcome. So I'm coming in through like a welcome screen. There's probably a button on the screen for new user. If I hit new user, it's going to take me to some sort of sign up screen. If I say no, I'm not a new user, it's going to take me down to sign in. Okay, that's a very logical flow. If I want to go through the sign up process first, though, because I think it's very helpful to follow one flow, one thread, and then go to the other. So here we sign up, and I'm not going to worry about wherever this is going. I'm just going to follow this one straight through. So I've clicked create a new account, I've clicked first name, last name, enter email address and desired password, correct password format. Okay, so I'm guessing that there isn't a confirm password here. It's just I'm going to enter it once, which is fine. I don't necessarily think that you have to have that confirm password bit. You just want to make sure that they're entering the right format. So 6 letters with special characters. So that kind of gives me an idea of the message that you might, if like it's the wrong format, there might be a message that pops up near the form. And I like that. When you're setting up an account, it's far less likely that you're going to give a confusing message. When you're trying to sign in and somebody does something wrong, that's where a lot of organizations give very confusing feedback. So that's an area we'll want to look at. But right now you're doing fine. So it's the correct format. We're going to verify the email address. It goes up to verify email address. I'm curious about why we would skip verification. It's like if we skip verification, it goes to email authentication, and then it skips down and around email authentication. I'm not sure why you would do that. Perhaps my guess, Jeremy, is that you've had a discussion with somebody on the team at the workplace saying that there's an ability to skip verification. For me, I would always just put it through email authentication and off you go. And then the question with email authentication, are you just pinging it, or are you sending a message to them saying, hey, we're trying to authenticate, and then it comes back to onboarding if you click the onboarding. So just a little clarification here, but otherwise everything looks pretty normal. Now we go through onboarding. Slideshow of app features. This is something that, you've got a note here, so I want to kind of take a look at this. This is about informing users on why they should use the app, such as showcasing features like easy and interactive access to mall directories, GPS location to desired mall store from user location. This is an important thing to bring up. We haven't talked about what this project is. All we are really focused on is, do these steps make sense? And that's the great thing about user flows, is you don't necessarily need to know, so what's this project doing, until you get into the deeper stages. But as we've seen here, the onboarding is pretty straightforward. It could be literally be anything. But now we're getting an idea of, okay, here's what this thing does. And this slideshow basically is, I'm going to guess it says slideshow and it says 3. So I'm guessing it's like 3 screens that I could either swipe through, or I need the ability to say, I don't want to do this. I want to skip. You never want to trap your user into a particular flow. A lot of people will say, well, I want them to definitely go through this, and that's great. But I would also say that there should be a skip that allows you to skip over this slideshow if they want it to. Access current location. Now this is this is one of those pop-ups that, dependent on the on all operating systems, you're going to get a pop-up trying to, hey, can we access your location? If you say no, I'm guessing it's very difficult for this application to function, because you're trying to load something at a particular location to be helpful to the user. So if they say no, they've got to select a state, and then a city location, and then search, enter top 5 stores near a location. Okay, so what you're saying is they would choose a state, they would choose a location. It sounds like this, now you're doing a different process. This is not something that the user would select. Like, they choose this, they choose that, and then once that happens, you send them the primary stores near that city. Okay, so it's not pinpointed to where they are. It's just kind of in their broad range. Search, enter 510 primary malls near a user's location. Okay. Sounds like this is all something that you're programmatically doing and delivering, which is fine. I'm not necessarily sure how I make it from here to there. It says search, enter. So, like, I'm guessing here that I am having to do some input, but what's unclear is this like a search box, or are you delivering, like, here's the results near you preemptively with a search box? There might be a little clarification needed here so that I better understand what's happening. These steps are really clear. I can visualize in my head what's happening. Here, I'm not sure what the screen, or I have an idea what the screen is. I'm not sure if you are delivering that information just automagically, as my friend Guy used to say all the time, great developer friend. So are we automagically delivering that, or am I entering in something into the search field and then it's producing a list? That part I'm fuzzy on. You might want to clarify that. Okay. Let's hop up. Actually, let's see here. So it goes over here to upload photo, enter user information. I'm curious of why I would need to do that. Age, birthday. So I'm guessing age is authenticating that they can use the app. Like, are you over 18? And then birthday is confirmation that they're above a certain age. I'm curious here if you could get birthday and figure out age from there. That would be one less input that you're requesting. And then, on the back end, you could say, oh, here's their birthday. They are 46 or they are 22. A lot of, so I remember most recently TikTok had this, and you did your age verification by just enter your birthday. And you would enter your birthday, and it would say, oh, you're not under the age of 13, so you're good to go. Or, as my daughter was, you're under the age of 13, and we're deleting all your videos. Talk about a freak out. But programmatically on the back end, they were just taking one input, the birthday, and figuring out whether you were qualified to use the application in its full unblocked way. Other areas that you would see such a thing, sorry, I just had a momentary freak out of, oh my God, I'm not showing my screen again. And my sidekick Rebecca's not here this morning because she's always like, hey Chris, you're not showing your screen. She's enjoying a holiday. But also with zip codes, instead of asking for city state, you just get the zip code. Now that works really well if you happen to be in the United States. If you're not in the United States, or if your application is more global, it's hard to parse just a zip code because maybe that place doesn't have a quote zip code and you need some other field. Then you need to get location in a different way. So here it says access current location. It's doing a similar flow as what you have here. So, choose state, choose city location is skipping over. It's skipping over that necessary access current location bit, but I'm still not quite sure if am I searching or am I presented with a list. That I need some clarification really in both of these spots. Okay. Here again, I would simplify it just like boop, one thing. I'm not sure about the upload photo. Is this a social network? I don't know. Especially during setup, I could totally see this if it was in settings I can add a photo. That could be something that's done later. I don't want to slow down getting them into the platform. So let's see here. As a user, I want to be able to be notified about the following things: deals, sales, coupons, events, store openings. Okay, that's fine. I'm thinking about it myself. I'm like, okay, as a user, deals, sales, yes. Coupons, yes. Events, maybe. Store openings, maybe. But you don't have anything there that's egregious. Like, no, that's clearly a user would never want that. Like, I can make an argument that a user would want all of these things. So I think you're on the right track. I'm always icky about notifications because I'm worried somebody's trying to put one over on a consumer and ask them to sign up for crap that they would never want. So the list that you have here makes somewhat logical sense. The first two definitely. Coupons, deals, and sales. Yes, I want a notification on those things. You're thinking in the best interest of the user. I think that's great. Turn on notifications. No, yes. So what happens here? Let's go. Do we go to the same place? Okay. So, all right. So fine. It's just, do I want it or don't I want it? And then you take me to the mobile homepage. But it's not a mobile homepage. It's a homepage on a mobile phone. A mobile homepage would just be a page of mobile homes. I see what I did there. Anyway, all right. So we got most of the flow here, and I think thus far, Jeremy, I'm only seeing a couple of spots where I'm like, what's happening here? Mobile homepage, which I'm not going to do it again. Okay, so a lot of stuff leads back here. I'm not really sure why. Oh, duh. Okay, so we've made it through. We made it through the new user sign up. The only thing I think we skipped was we have these arrows skipping down from create new account. So if we don't want to create a new account with our email address, I'm guessing these are sign up with Facebook, sign up with Instagram. And here you're saying you're going to authenticate, and it's going to carry up to onboarding. This is something that you want to plan for. A lot of people will say, oh, yeah, I'll just authenticate with Facebook. And then they'll hit that authentication page, and they're like, oh, I don't remember my password because I'm on my phone and I signed in on my computer. Or, same thing for Instagram. They might not know their passwords, so they're going to exit out of that. When they exit, what happens when they exit out and they say, oh, I can't authenticate? You're going to want a line coming back up to sign up. Okay? And, just for the folks playing at home, to do that, you could just grab the line tool. So I'm going to grab this line tool. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to draw. And I'm just going to drag that out. And there you go. You've got now, and you would want to go in and add one of those X's in here showing that this was a path that didn't work. But that's one of the things I love about Miro is like you just have these little anchors, and you draw off the side of the anchors to the thing that you want, and it just makes the line. Sometimes this gets messy, all right? So, there's no clean way to make your way out of this and back up without crossing over the line, and that's one of the reasons why I like using a different colored line so it's easier to follow. But this isn't all that complicated. But I definitely would have they couldn't authenticate map. And when you do that, Instagram's going to swing down, which means I'm going to want to grab all of this and just go, just drag it down. Okay. So that you have the ability to make that loop, because only the broken Facebook authentication has to actually go over. And it might actually be helpful if you take these two. And this is something else that's cool about Miro, is it will drag those lines, although that one didn't go with it because it's not connected properly. But we can connect it properly. So now we'll grab it, and off it goes. All right? It automatically adjusts that stuff for you. I love Miro. It's great. I like Figma too, but Figma and Miro they're like cousins, particularly with the multiplayer thing. The fact that Jeremy could be in this file right now, and I could be in this file, and your entire team could be in this file, it's pretty damn cool. That's one of the reasons why I have an issue with things like for instance, Webflow. It's like, I just want to be able to be in the file together. GitHub allows me to multiplayer. Miro allows me to multiplayer. Figma allows me to multiplayer. Get with the program if you want me to use your product. We all have to be in here working together. So I would adjust that. Let's go through the sign in flow. So we're going through sign in. Again, I'm not going to worry about the arrows here. I'm just going to go straight through. Enter email and password. Valid user credentials. No, it wasn't valid. Okay. If it was valid, I go to this mobile home. I won't make the joke again. Valid user credentials. If it's not, I go to login failed, enter correct credentials. If that worked, great. This is what I was talking about. Enter correct credentials. What was wrong? Was it my username? Was it my password? I really hate it. Really hate it as a consumer, as a user, when you won't tell me whether my password was wrong or whether my username was wrong, because there's a lot of services out there that we use very rarely. And sometimes it's like, oh, were they wanting my email or my quote username? And sometimes I'll enter the email and they wanted the username, and then it says your credentials are wrong. And it's like, oh crap, I got the password wrong. No, I didn't. I had the password right. I just entered email instead of username. So tell me which one is wrong. Please, for the love of God, tell me which one is wrong. Forgot password. And the reason why I think that that's fine is you have a escape hatch for forgot password. Reset password, correct password format, no. Enter the credentials, yes. We come back up. And okay, that's good. That's good. I'm glad to see that you have that, because you have reset password. Is it correct format? Yes, it is. Then you come back up and you enter the email and password. And I think that's logical. I always get a little weirded out when I enter the new email or the new password and it just automatically lets me in. I'm like, thanks. I'd like to use it though. And the reason why I would like to use it is I, like a lot of people, have a password keeper. And if I don't enter that password into that form, it won't trigger the keeper to grab it. So what you get into is a never-ending cycle of, oh, I forgot my password again, because it's never made it to the keeper, because I've never had to enter it after resetting it. So this is a proper flow that works with those people, even though it's a little, it's just a little bit of grit in the gears, because you're asking people to automatically use the password they just created. But that's only annoying if the database doesn't update fast enough. And there are platforms, not looking at you Walgreens, but I'm talking to you Walgreens, where you will update your password and it will put you back through the cycle, but you've made it there before the database has reflected the new updated password, and you have to wait. And after about 30 to 60 seconds, it's okay to enter your password, because now the database reflects that change. But that it doesn't tell you, please wait 30 to 60 seconds before logging into your account. It just says, log into your account, and you enter it, and it's like, invalid password. And you're like, what the hell? That's the password I just created. And you try it 3 times, and the 3rd time it works, because 60 seconds have passed. Pain in the ass. All right. That takes you to the mobile homepage, and oh yeah, okay. So that's interesting. Here you have, okay. This is weird, because we talked about it. Okay, so we're gonna sign in. You're gonna loop down to log in with Facebook, log in with Instagram. So Facebook authentication, no. Enter correct login credentials. So you you're considering that they're not going to go back and just try to sign in with an email, but you have at least considered what might happen if they can't automatically log in. This at least needs to make it up to here. You need to reflect the fact that they may have entered the wrong credentials. But you also need to have it go back the other way, because they could simply say, I can't remember, I'm going to go back. That happens, particularly when they get to this point and they can't enter the right credentials. So just something to consider. Overall, I think this is pretty strong. I only see a couple of areas. The only real area is like over here. I'm not quite sure what that's delivering back. There's tweaks that I could suggest making, but overall, I think you're on the right path. You could turn this in and say, "Hey, engineers, here's what I'm thinking." Poke holes in it, and they may have company-specific suggestions, but I think you're on the right path. So a couple tweaks and off you go. But that's Jeremy's onboarding flow, and that's Miro. If you've ever seen it, you can get a free account. I think those are the boards. This will actually user story map framework, agile board, business model canvas, customer journey map, mind map. You get the idea. There's lots of stuff that you can do with Miro. So anyway, that's Jeremy's project. I want to show you one more thing before we get out of here, as it nears the top of the hour. So Eve was working on her competitor research, and I gave Eve a minor request because her competitor research, she's working on the UX program project right now. She did a really good job putting this document together. And this isn't the entire document. She's linked off to her testing's fantastic, and she's got data points on all the competitors. The only thing I thought was these competitors there are no traditional grocers that do any sort of meal delivery that are listed here, and I know, or meal prep. I know that Kroger owns one, and Whole Foods has their options. So I wanted to see one of those reflected here. But forget about that for a second. I just want to go look at her freshly heuristics testing, because this is how the hell you put together heuristics testing. When you're going through and you're looking at a product, and I don't care if it's I'm going through and I am considering. Sorry, I'm going to change my account there. Let's go back in with new Pragmatic. I don't care what sort of company that you are researching. It could be like I'm researching WordPress hosting companies. I'm comparing them. I'm comparing car models and how they're advertised against one another. I'm comparing the fruit juice market, whatever it is. When you go through and you're doing heuristics testing, you're basically trying to hold the site against commonly held values of the Nielsen heuristics tests. There's 10 items that you're going through. But what's important is that you're paying close attention to how your competitors are tackling many of the same problems. And I love the fact that she went through and captured GIFs to show what the interaction of the site was like, so that I don't necessarily have to go through and rethink all the things that I want to click on and do once I'm beginning to work on my site. So, let's look at page reload so you get an idea. But the fact that she collected all this information gives you an idea of what the site really functions like, without having to go back and reuse the site and do all that testing over again. I just thought it was really a really fantastic way. Let's look at the meals page. If she's got all this information collected, so when we go to talk about information architecture, she's going to have this database of competitors, and she'll know, oh yeah, this is how they handle ingredients and the details and nutrition. It's like in this folder, the old card index thing. That's what Freshly does. And then if she comes back and she goes over to let's say Providence Meals, let's look at theirs for a second. She'll say, so they have a meal order page. And sorry, my drive is loading a little slow here, but they have a meal order page, and here's what it looks like. And it's really busy, but you have an idea of how different competitors tackle similar problems. And you've collected all these assets. This is what I used to do when I was first getting into mobile design. 2008, you've probably all heard the story before, but we were looking to the right and to the left. Anybody that was releasing an app, we were studying each other's work. This sort of study is key to understanding and rapidly ramping up what is the current state of the marketplace. No, I don't think this is a great form design, but it's better to know what's out there, so that when you compare it against other sites, you have an idea of where is the bar for this industry, and you're coming into it fresh, new. You have no idea where it's at. You need to do that research so you establish a feel for this. Nobody picks up a guitar and immediately writes an original song that everybody's going to love. They start playing covers. This is you sampling, this is you heading into, say, country music and saying, you know what, I'm going to listen to some country music songs and I'm going to pick it apart so that I understand how are country songs constructed, or hip hop, or whatever. It's the same idea. You're breaking these things down to the element parts and creating a catalog of them. I think it's a super smart, really, when you do heuristics testing, I don't specifically ask that people do that. I do ask that they, study the site, get an idea of what's important, of how people attack the same problems. But you've done a fantastic job. I think this is what everybody should do as they're working through their heuristics testing, because there's no better time than heuristics testing to go through and begin collecting those assets. Because when it comes time to design your site, you're going to be in a much better position to, hey, I'm going to go back to my competitor research and kind of take a peek at those sites, so I can remember how people are tackling these similar problems. You can improve upon a competitor's prior solution if you know what it was. You have no idea, even if you're directly copying them, if you haven't begun to study them. And that's the big thing. When people are doing similar work, it's very likely that you're going to end up in a situation where you're going to inadvertently copy what they're doing. Everybody that's working in a similar space is going to come up with roughly the same idea. Your job is to make sure that you're not copying what somebody else's solution inadvertently. Now, once you understand how they're doing it, I think the easiest thing to do is to go look at 4 or 5 others that are doing the same thing, and in between that set, it's not going to be possible for you to copy any one of them, because in your head you're going to be like, oh, I want to take the best of that and the best of that and the best of that, and none of them really do that one thing all that well that I think is really important to my customer segment. So I'm really going to knock out search, or I'm going to knock out pricing selection. I'm going to knock out the display of the photography. There's an angle, but you've got to study the field to understand, okay, that's the angle to attack. That's how you do it. And Eve, I think you did a fantastic job. Got my Hoffler typography hat on today. It's been an amazing week. I hope that you've had a lot of fun here in the feedback loop with me. We'll pick it back up again on Monday for a recharged, reloaded feedback loop. I'm absolutely certain that there's going to be a lot of work flying through the channel over the weekend, so I look forward to seeing all of your work. Otherwise, have a great weekend, and I will chat with you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.